I stood by the door, my heart pounding against my ribcage like a trapped bird. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting a ghostly glow that barely masked the encroaching darkness of the empty office. My name is Daniel Larkin, 33, a project manager at a tech startup that had consumed my life for the past 5 years. Tonight, however, it wasn't the spreadsheets or deadlines that occupied my mind. It was her. "Daniel," she called softly, her voice slicing through the silence like a knife. I paused, my hand on the doorknob, half turned toward the exit. The sound of her voice made me freeze, and I felt a jolt of electricity race through me. It was just past 10, and I was always the last to leave, escaping the office like a thief in the night. But tonight, she wanted more than just my presence. She wanted my attention. I turned slowly to face her, the dim light illuminating her features. Emily Carter, my colleague, the marketing director, and the only person in this suffocating office who made the hours bearable. She was in her late 30s, with an effortless air of confidence and grace that made the room feel smaller when she entered. Her hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and her eyes, those piercing blue eyes, were locked onto mine with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. "Before you go," she said, stepping closer, her hands clasped behind her back, "why do you always leave first?" I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly dry. It was a question I had never considered. I guess I'm just tired," I replied, trying to sound casual, but the tremor in my voice betrayed me. "Are you afraid of what will happen if you stay longer?" she pressed, her tone sharp yet curious. That question hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, threatening to shatter at the slightest touch. I could feel the weight of her gaze, and it turned my insides to liquid. I had spent countless nights at this desk, shrouded in deadlines and expectations, but the thought of facing whatever lingered in the shadows of the office after hours felt different. "Maybe," I admitted, the word escaping my lips before I could stop it. It was the truth, and it felt dangerous to speak it aloud. She took a step closer, her fingers brushing against the edge of her blouse, and in that moment, I was acutely aware of the space between us. So charged, so delicate. "What are you afraid of, Daniel?" I felt the air thicken around us, a tangible force that pulled me toward her. "I'm not sure," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. The honesty of my answer hung between us, and I could see the flicker of surprise in her eyes. Silence enveloped us, stretching like a taut wire. My mind raced, replaying moments of glances exchanged across the conference table, laughter over lunch breaks, the way she brushed her hair behind her ear when she was deep in thought. There was an intimacy in those fleeting moments that I had tried to ignore, but now they surged forward like a tide threatening to drown us both. "Maybe you should stay," she said, her voice softening, almost inviting. I felt the heat rising in my cheeks. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if you stayed just a little longer?" Her gaze was unwavering, and I could see the hint of a challenge in her expression. "Why would I do that?" I asked, though a part of me was already considering it. "Because," she said, taking another step closer, her breath warm against the cool air of the office. "There's something we need to talk about." Then, as if the universe conspired against us, the fluorescent lights flickered again, plunging us into near darkness for a heartbeat. In that moment, I felt a rush of adrenaline, a pull toward something intoxicating and forbidden. "Emily," I began, but my voice trailed off as I tried to comprehend the depth of this sudden shift. "Just hear me out," she urged, her tone more earnest now. "I've noticed how you've been lately. You work so hard, but you never let anyone in." I wanted to protest, to tell her that I was fine, that this was how I preferred it. But the truth was, I felt exposed under her scrutiny, and the walls I had built around myself were beginning to crumble. Her eyes searched mine, and in that moment, I felt vulnerable, naked in a way I hadn't anticipated. "What if I told you that I see you?" she continued, her voice low and almost conspiratorial. That I know you're more than just the work you produce? I shifted my weight, feeling the pull of her words, the intimacy of her gaze. What do you mean? I mean, I see the potential in you, she said, her voice soft yet firm. But you keep running away. You keep leaving. The unspoken question lingered in the air, heavy with implication. I could feel the tension crackling between us, a current that threatened to pull us into uncharted territory. What if I'm just not ready? I confessed, my heart racing as I laid bare my fear. Ready for what? She pressed, her eyes narrowing slightly. To be seen? To be known? I hesitated, her words wrapping around me like a vine, squeezing tighter with each passing second. Maybe, I finally admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. But what if it ruins everything? Daniel, she said, her tone shifting, softening. Sometimes you have to risk everything to find out what's worth keeping. The way she said my name sent a shiver down my spine. I could feel her presence enveloping me, filling the empty space in the office with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. What if I stay? I asked, the question slipping out before I could reconsider. What happens then? She held my gaze, and for a moment, the world outside faded away. It was just the two of us, suspended in time, caught in a moment that felt like it could tip either way. Then we see what happens next, she replied, a hint of challenge in her voice. I took a deep breath, the gravity of her words settling in. What if it changes everything? It might, she said, the corners of her mouth lifting in a small smile. But isn't that the point? I looked down, my pulse racing. The idea of staying, of crossing that line, was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Okay, I said finally, my voice stronger now. I'll stay. The air around us shifted, thick with unspoken possibilities. I could feel the tension between us crackling like electricity, a palpable force that ignited something deep within me. Good, she said, her eyes sparkling with an energy I hadn't seen before. Let's talk. As she led me deeper into the shadows of the office, my mind raced with uncertainty and curiosity. I had stepped into uncharted territory, and every instinct told me to turn back. Yet, there was a thrill coursing through my veins, a sense of adventure that beckoned me forward. Okay, so what do you want to talk about? I asked, forcing my voice to sound steady. About you, she replied, leaning against the edge of a desk, her body language relaxed yet poised. About what you want out of this job, out of your life. I searched her face, trying to decipher the depth of her inquiry. I want to succeed, I said, unsure if that was the answer she was looking for. I want to make an impact. She nodded, her expression thoughtful. And beyond that, what do you want? I hesitated, the weight of her question pressing down on me. I don't know, I confessed, feeling exposed. I've always put my career first. It's what I'm good at. But what if it's not enough? She asked, her voice gentle yet firm. What if there's more to life than just work? I felt a pang in my chest, a flicker of something I hadn't allowed myself to acknowledge. I guess I'm afraid of not being enough, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Not being enough for who? She asked, her gaze steady and unwavering. For everyone, I replied, the vulnerability of my words hanging in the air. For my family, my friends, myself. Emily took a step closer, the distance between us shrinking. You don't have to carry that weight alone, she said softly. You have people around you who care. I met her gaze, and in that moment I felt a shift, a crack in the armor I had built around myself. What if I let them down? Then you learn, she said, her voice unwavering. You adapt. You grow. The warmth of her presence enveloped me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope. What if I don't know how? Then we figure it out together, she replied, her eyes shining with sincerity. The silence between us deepened, charged with the weight of our conversation. I could feel the tension simmering, an unspoken understanding that lingered just beneath the surface. "Emily," I began, but the words caught in my throat. I didn't know how to articulate the turmoil within me, the fear of stepping into the unknown. "Just be honest with me," she said, her voice steady and reassuring. "What do you want?" I searched her face, and in that moment, I realized that I wanted more than just success. I wanted connection. I wanted to be seen, to be understood. "I want to be brave," I finally said, my voice trembling. "I want to take risks, even if it scares me." Her gaze softened, and I could see the understanding in her eyes. "Then let's take that risk together," she said, her voice low and inviting. The moment hung in the air, charged with unspoken possibilities. I could feel the weight of her gaze, the warmth of her presence, and the desire to bridge the gap between us. But just as I was about to take a step closer, a sound shattered the stillness. A loud crash from outside, followed by the blare of a car alarm. The moment dissolved, and the tension between us evaporated like mist in the sunlight. We both turned toward the noise, our hearts racing. "What was that?" I asked, my mind racing with concern. "I don't know," she replied, her brow furrowing. "It sounded like it came from the parking lot." "I should check it out," I said, already moving toward the door. "Wait," she called after me, her voice tinged with urgency. "Don't go alone." I turned back to her, uncertainty flickering in my chest. "It might just be a car accident," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "I don't care," she insisted, her gaze steady. "I'm coming with you." Her resolve surprised me, but I nodded, and together we stepped out into the darkness of the parking lot. The night air was cool against my skin, and the chaos from a few moments ago hung in the air like a ghost. We moved cautiously, our footsteps echoing against the pavement. "What do you think happened?" I asked, glancing at her. "Maybe someone backed into something," she suggested, but her voice lacked conviction. As we approached the source of the noise, I felt the tension between us shift again. A reminder of the conversation we had just shared, of the uncharted territory we were both navigating. There, in the dim light of the parking lot, we found a car with a crumpled fender, the alarm still blaring. A few onlookers had gathered, their faces lit by the glow of their phones as they recorded the scene. "Are you okay?" I called to the driver, a young woman who sat behind the wheel, her expression a mix of shock and embarrassment. "I think so," she replied, her voice shaky. I didn't see the pole." Emily and I exchanged a glance, the tension between us momentarily forgotten as we assessed the situation. Together, we approached the young woman, offering comfort and support. As we helped her navigate the aftermath of the accident, I felt a shift within myself, a realization that vulnerability didn't have to be a weakness. In that moment, standing beside Emily, I felt a sense of connection that I hadn't fully understood before. The chaos of the night faded away, and I found solace in the shared experience of helping someone in need. I could feel Emily's presence beside me, steady and grounded, and I realized that I didn't have to face the unknown alone. Eventually, the situation calmed down, and the onlookers dispersed, leaving just the three of us. The young woman thanked us, her gratitude shining through her embarrassment. As we walked back toward the office, the tension between Emily and me felt different, charged with a new understanding, a fragile bond forged in the chaos of the night. "I didn't expect that," I said, glancing at her. "Neither did I," she replied, her eyes sparkling with a mix of excitement and relief. In that moment, I felt a sense of possibility blooming between us, a recognition that we were navigating something new and uncharted. As we stepped back into the office, the weight of the night settled around us, and I knew that whatever lay ahead, we would face it together. "Do you think we'll be okay?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Emily met my gaze, her expression steady. "I think we will," she said, a soft smile gracing her lips. And in that moment, surrounded by the quiet of the empty office, I felt a flicker of hope, a promise of what could be, even if the path ahead was still uncertain. As the screensavers danced across the monitors, I knew that we were on the brink of something new, something fragile yet filled with potential. Together, we would navigate the unknown, one step at a time.